So when I came across Facebook video, it was very heartwarming, kind of dedication and the effort. This one was effort will be required by our digital runners while working in Project Suraksha. Now we had a multimedia film show to our runners during our training program so that they can actually see what follow.
The team quantified the problem and also put a number to achieve.
130 crores of population. I believe if 60 to 70% are in the village, that's really a big number. So we thought that this movement to really gain base and visibility, we possibly should be reaching almost about 100,000 people. Because that was the milestone. 100,000 if you achieve, we become visible.
Initially through our crowdfunding campaign, we got little traction from friends and family, but our message landed up with CryptoRelief Fund.
Project Suraksha brought in a very unique approach where the idea was to mobilize people to take vaccine in deep rural parts of the country. We supported Suraksha with $1 million US to help them vaccinate around 10 lakh individuals.
This was a big breakthrough and there was no looking back after that.
The plan was to create India's largest tech-enabled vaccination awareness program for rural India. A large countrywide campaign that is professionally managed using technology-enabled data collection and tracking.
Step 1 is runner application. Step 2 is training and assessment. Step 3 is counseling and vaccination. Step 4 is quality check. And step 5 is payment to the runner.
Each runner undergoes through a very structured training and assessment exercise. And once they are trained, they are required to or submit all the activity on the digital.
By following this process, we ensure that our runners are trained consistently across the country and we are able to track vaccination.
Good evening, everybody. May I request everyone to please occupy their seats? Thank you. Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for turning up on such short notice. Absolutely delighted to have everybody here, especially the both of you, Vitalik and Sandeep. Thank you so much. We decided to have a sort of a gathering to look back at almost the last 2 years, what started off, what it's become, and the way ahead. So I think that's why we're all here. So I think we'll get directly to the proceedings. We'll start off with things. So I'd like to invite Dr. Gaurav Singh, the CEO of CryptoRelief, to give us the opening address.
Thank you, Karthik. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and my dear colleagues, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you on this momentous occasion where we have gathered to celebrate a remarkable 2-year philanthropic journey of CryptoRelief. A journey that combines human compassion, ingenuity, and unity. The genesis of CryptoRelief can be traced back to a time when the world was grappling with one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. The COVID-19 prompted a response that needed a global leadership which can combine a group of passionate volunteers from around the globe and can work for fight against this disease. Mr. Sandeep Nelwal brought that global leadership, and he was able to make the change and gain the trust of Mr. Vitalik Buterin, who is graciously present within us. One second. Together, this facilitated one of the biggest singular philanthropic donation in the history of philanthropy ever witnessed, that was rapidly deployed with utmost transparency and trust of the community. CryptoRelief stands as a remarkable example of how the blockchain technology, social media, NGOs and volunteers united to confront one of the most significant disasters in human history. We fondly speak amongst ourselves that it all started with a tweet. I vividly recall my time as the COVID in charge at a medical college, where I witnessed the heartbreaking daily loss of lives, especially among young individuals. The helplessness of doctors who were tirelessly working to save lives but were often hindered by the scarcity of essential resources was extremely painful for me to witness as an administrator. Although the government was doing its best, and I can vouch for that because I was the part of that system, the enormity of problem was just too much for existing resources. During these challenges days, I found solace in confiding with Sandeep, sharing the immense challenges Indian doctors face due to lack of resources required to save patients' life. Sandeep personally too faced hardship as he lost a close friend to COVID, awaiting a ventilator bed, and also his family members caught COVID, including his sister, wife, and grandmother. So, after these incidents, Sandeep was moved to take compelling action. He issued a heartfelt plea on Twitter for assistance and took the initiative to establish a cryptocurrency wallet to gather donations. The response from people was overwhelming and heartwarming, as if a collective desire to help had been unleashed. Many individuals were eager to contribute, but they struggled to find a suitable means to do so until CryptoRelief provided a platform. Sandeep's altruistic character and positive reputation prompted his social media network to instantly donate. This endeavor soon captured the attention of Mr. Vitalik Buterin, who is graciously present among us as our esteemed guest of honor. Moved by the suffering of people of India and impressed by the work initiated by CryptoRelief, he made the single largest donation ever witnessed in the history of philanthropy in India. We express our deepest gratitude to you, sir, for your extraordinary contribution to our country and the countless lives you have saved. We shall forever remain indebted to your generosity. As soon as Sandeep received the fund, he issued a call for help, and a multitude of young individuals from diverse backgrounds eagerly responded. It felt as though everyone was waiting for an opportunity to lend a hand to the nation. The initial team of volunteers consisted of doctors, engineers, supply chain experts, e-commerce specialists, civil servants, social workers, entrepreneurs, and many others. They identified several challenges in healthcare infrastructure. The first and foremost was the supply of medical oxygen. Then we also were facing shortage of medical equipments, ICU beds. There was a huge shortage of hospital beds as well as the ICU beds, and we needed people to get mobilized for vaccination. And lastly, the most important thing was we needed funds for genome sequencing to identify new virus variants, as well as genomic and environmental surveillance to identify the extent of pandemic that has hit us, and from time to time we should know that how things are going to turn about. And lastly, we needed to help families who were actually affected by COVID-19 financially, and we provided them with ration kits and all for their financial support. So here are all the numbers at a glance. So how did we tackle these problems? We tackled these problems with the help of this fund. We actively partnered with 55 NGOs and government institutions, pooling our resources and expertise to address critical issues. Through these direct partnerships, we have been able to implement a wide range of healthcare projects. Furthermore, our influence has extended beyond these direct collaborations. We have worked behind the scenes, supporting and empowering more than 100 other NGOs and organizations by providing financial support, technical assistance, capacity building, and knowledge sharing, we have fostered a network of like-minded organizations committed to creating positive change. Our reach has been truly nationwide, leaving no region untouched. From bustling urban centers to remote rural communities, we have strived to reach those in need, ensuring that our efforts are inclusive and far-reaching. So, with this fund, till now, we have donated 35,000 oxygen cylinders, 15,000 oxygen concentrators, 10,000 BiPAPs, 3,000 ventilators, 15,000 worth of number of medical equipments, and 3,000 ICU beds we were able to give to the country. And around 10 lakhs food and ration kits were distributed during the second wave for helping out the poor. So one of our biggest contribution was mobilizing people for vaccination, and we did it with the help of our partners. In total, we mobilized 3.5 million people to the vaccination centers and supported vaccination in rural areas. And last but not least, we firmly adhere to the principle of aligning all our efforts with the government and its policies. Recognizing the vast scale and impact of the government machinery, we believe that by working in harmony with it, we can maximize the positive outcomes of our endeavors. While our efforts are significant, we humbly acknowledge that the government's influence and reach is by far unparalleled, making collaboration essential to achieve substantial and lasting changes. So when UNICEF approached us regarding the Indian government's need for syringes, we promptly responded by transferring $15 million within 6 days of receiving the request, by which around 128 million syringes were brought into Indian economy. This demonstrated the remarkable speed at which decisions were made in CryptoRelief, and when the government required assistance, we were always there. So while we were working with the NGOs, we realized that many NGOs were working in silos on different projects, and each having their own expertise. So we provided a funding umbrella under which all NGOs with a special set of expertise were brought together to fight the COVID pandemic in a collaborative way. We named this program a District Pandemic Response Program. Our other contributions also extended to genomic surveillances. As the time was of a crucial crunch on the science frontier, CryptoRelief contributed significantly to India's sequencing effort towards detection and monitoring of new virus variants, contributing close to 10% of all Indian data uploaded on GSED. Also, we invested a lot in wastewater technology, with Bangalore as one of the primary examples of wastewater technology detecting COVID-19 virus. We also invested in newer technologies in form of CRISPR for detecting of COVID-19 and other viruses. So one of the mainstay of our program has been the transparency. We have always helped everyone to know what we are doing, where the funds are being going. Every detail has been on our website since the starting. Also, Sandeep has always insisted to provide answers to each and every person who wants an answer to where the fund has gone and what are the things that we have spent it on. So all the time, if you can log on our website, you can find the details of whatever we have done till now. So looking forward, we are trying to build an institute of virology that will actually help out the biomedical sector. We are also looking for a pandemic preparedness program that will actually enhance India's capabilities to fight the future pandemics. We are looking for a district-based program that can actually strengthen the district administration for governance, as well as taking decisions by finding out problems from the grassroots, that we call as the district full stack program. In the end, I will like to show you all a video that we have compiled with the help of a few of our NGOs as well as Sandeep. And let's enjoy that video, because then we can truly see how detailed we have worked till now, as well as the volunteers that the volunteers have covered so many aspects of life.
The second wave has touched everyone. Most people are spending their days trying to find a hospital bed.
It's really sad to see my mother go away because she was just 59.
Only difference between CryptoRelief and any other fund would be that because it is crypto, it's very, very transparent. I've taken singular responsibility for, that this money doesn't land in the wrong hands. It's 5 minutes versus 6 months, saving thousands of lives versus not saving them. That's the difference.
There's no oxygen, there's no mask, there's no N95.
The biggest crisis, of course, it was oxygen.
My father is in a very critical condition. I'm getting no help.
Ventilators were a very big issue. Even the PPE kits, they started running out. My sister traveled also from India to Dubai. After 2 days, we realized that she has COVID. My grandmother also got it, like my maternal grandmother. So it came into my house. This was the first time, as human beings, we have fight or flight response. I was like, screw this virus.
Sandeep Nailwal, the founder of Polygon, came up with an innovation in the form of CryptoRelief Fund, which is India's own first crypto-based fund.
Cryptocurrency Relief Fund has been created to help COVID patients in India.
Cryptocurrency community that has come together to fund COVID relief efforts.
Now, not only I'm going to get my family out of it, but I'm going to help whoever I can get out of it. If I was intending to do a fund, I would have to, in a traditional sense, I would have to go to set up an entity, set up a bank account and, tons of different things, get approvals and all that. And then people can send money to me. And this process would have taken me at least 6 months. By that time, the second wave was over.
It was, I would say, rather an emotional outburst of Sandeep Nailwal. I know Sandeep since college days. He's my MBA junior. And then he tweeted about this second wave which were going on in India.
If you see that tweet, it's like, can't take it sitting down anymore. This was the time when I also had COVID.
This program run by Sandeep Nailwal, the founder of Polygon, who said that, crypto has to directly come to help humanity. And that is what the Crypto Relief Fund was about.
I started that. I thought maybe I'll raise $500,000, $1 million and all that.
Such things only happens when you're really frustrated, and number two, when you're passionate to solve the problem.
Maybe 24 hours we had crossed 1 million, and then in next 2 to 3 days it was above 10 million.
The whole online crypto ecosystem just came together and decided that we need to help India.
Donations were received from all over the world. People were able to donate their crypto in seconds. And these donations were then sent to NGOs in India to carry out relief activities everywhere in the country, especially during the second wave and the third wave.
Only difference between CryptoRelief and any other fund would be that because it is crypto, it's very, very transparent, and we are very much okay if anybody wants to ask bank statement, we are happy to provide all the bank statements. So we work with a lot of NGOs, Selco, Karuna Trust, ICAT. We also work with UNICEF, collaborated with Sonu Sood Foundation in some form. We provided them frameworks that, okay, this is the framework, you need to report us back.
When I met CryptoRelief, the beauty was that the people behind it were not jaundiced by the existing negativities of development. I will be able to not relate to a traditional banker in New York or in London, but I definitely will be able to relate to these youngsters who are, boss, we have to change.
It's not like anybody can take money from outside even for charity. You have to take a FCRA approval.
FCRA is a mark for making sure that all the monies that come into the country comes from legitimate sources and for legitimate reasons.
We only chose FCRA compliant NGOs and sent the money to them.
How will you use that for India's fight against corona? Because is crypto fungible into real money?
So, How exactly did the Crypto Relief Fund work? Despite of the hurdles of the regulatory framework being absent in India, the Crypto Relief team found out a solution. Sandeep created a multi-sig wallet where people donated their respective crypto from all over the world. What is a multi-sig wallet, you may ask? A multi-signature wallet or multi-sig wallet is a cryptocurrency wallet that requires 2 or more people to digitally sign, approve, and then send a transaction.
So CryptoRelief's wallet is controlled by 9 or 10 community members. Out of them, 6 or 7 have to sign for any particular money movement. So first people donate here and this money keeps accumulating. Second, there is an operational team which kind of goes out and sees where we can donate or where we can actually sanction the money for some NGO.
CryptoRelief is all run by volunteers. There was a marketing team, there was a PR team, there was a team for NGOs, there was a team for logistics, there was a team for procurement.
The team of these volunteers, after a proper background check of the NGOs, sends the proposal from the NGO to the Crypto Relief Committee for approval of funds. Once it is approved, then the funds move to an OTC provider, which converts crypto to fiat.
Who takes USDT from us and then sends the USD back to our bank. It was a crypto-friendly bank, FV Bank, and big shout out to them also. Once it comes to the FV Bank, we do a simple wire transfer. So to India, only INR hits in India.
We wanted to strengthen the government health system by adding 10-bed ICUs into the district hospitals. So when we proposed this idea to CryptoRelief, they really liked it and they said we are ready to fund that. Now they are funding $1.5 million. They are able to deploy that money very quickly and very efficiently. That's why we are able to execute big projects. Our aim is to have 720 districts in the country to have this 10-bed ICU. They are very young and energetic and professional approach, and they are ready to listen.
Talking about the inspiring stories of Crypto Relief Fund, it would be unfair to not include its contribution to UNICEF for supply of syringes required for vaccines.
We are collaborating with UNICEF to get, probably 300 million syringes in India.
The ease of, I wouldn't call it business, ease of donations from their side and the convincing, Dr. Gaurav is involved as well. Medically, you would assess it very quickly and say, yes, these guys are doing the right thing. So nearly 2,000 oxygen concentrators were given from the Crypto Relief. We can't even imagine the scale in which it helped the people in terms of saving lives. COVID was affecting everything, heart, brain, lungs. There was no stopping of which organ it was affecting. So when we discussed this with Puneet, he said, yes, go ahead. We created a world record in training 30,000 people, nearly 30,000 people in CPR, that is cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
The Crypto Relief Fund is completely transparent. In fact, if you visit their website cryptorelief.in, you can see all of their transactions made to various partner NGOs, the list of beneficiaries in the account, crypto holdings, the total crypto converted so far, and all of their donations received till date.
I was parallelly running this fund, parallelly running Polygon. There was a time when I got a panic attack. I thought I was getting shortness of breath and all that, but it was actually a panic attack or something. So my wife said that, okay, let's go out and have a dinner or something with family and all that. So we went out and we were having dinner, and then suddenly my phone starts blowing up. Everybody is calling me that, dude, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? My phone had less battery, so it died off. I thought, something bad has happened. And then I took somebody else's phone and saw that, Twitter is blowing up that Vitalik has donated $1 billion. My first question was, Vitalik, what the hell, bro? What did you do? This is... But I said, thanks to him, and I also said that, now this is a bigger responsibility. He also said that, sorry, I understand.
Vitalik Buterin, founder of Ethereum, the second largest crypto after Bitcoin, has made the biggest donation of $1 billion in the form of Ether and Shiba Inu coins to Crypto Relief Fund till date.
People only realize that $1 billion Shiba coin and this is a meme coin and all that. But he had actually personally donated like $6-7 million. I don't see, like, big shout out to Vitalik. I don't see any other billionaire in the world doing this, right? Like he donated Doge coins and which actually had value. He could have simply sold those tokens out in the market. Overall, Shiba Inu community took it very, very positively. I again want to give a very big shout out to them. I was thinking that the whole community will get mad and all that, but I found very, 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 very few hate comments. Everybody was like very supportive of it, that yeah, okay, if you have to sell it, go ahead and sell it, use it for a good thing. After that, once he donated, like Balaji donated some amount, and Coinbase CPO Surojit, he donated some amount. Brett Lee donated 1 Bitcoin. It became really viral.
I'm working in Kuwait with a multinational firm, so I am also part of the IIT Alumni Association. And when the second COVID wave was going on in India, the association decided to donate some oxygen cylinders and send them from Kuwait to India. At the same point in time, I came to know about that Sandeep has started CryptoRelief. Using that, we could go to Indian Embassy and then we can ask Indian Embassy that, we want to donate huge number of cylinders of oxygen. How is that a possibility, or how can we do that? Kuwait governments and Indian government, they formed a pact and they ran an operation. It was called Samudra Setu 2. In that particular operation, Indian Navy ships and Indian Air Force planes were allowed in the international borders of Kuwait. We were loading these cylinders. People were working 24/7.
Because of the very decentralized nature of this fund, one was able to witness how the donations were being utilized and deployed for the welfare activities carried out by various organizations and NGOs in India. The high efficiency, complete transparency, and quick deployment of funds for critical circumstances has revolutionized the idea of philanthropy. There is certainly a storm coming of entrepreneurs in the crypto space, solving problems that never happened to cross people's minds and providing innovative solutions. With the kind of talent and enthusiasm we have, here's an opportunity for India to lead from the front.
As everything else was happening, in different parts of the country, there was literally a team, like Vivek just mentioned in the video. We had a procurement process, we had a due diligence process, we had accounting, transparency, and everything was happening with volunteers at a very, very rapid pace. And I still sometimes look back and think how we pulled it off, but we did. And one of the requests that sort of came about during that time was from the government of India via UNICEF for the syringes, and it was apparently the fastest donation UNICEF has ever received till date, 6 or 7 working days. We have Mr. Luigi here with us today. Luigi, if I can please request you to come on stage and just talk to us about that time, the support, and then how it helped. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karthik, and good evening, everyone. So let me start. I'm still touched. We all were in the same story back then, and I'm also in a bad spot coming after such a strong video. But let me say that this partnership started. It was a near miss because of my name. So my name, I'm Italian, is Luigi. Now you know that the G in India can have meanings, right? So when we were trying to get all the funds, I think it was Karthik that was told, get in touch with UNICEF, talk to Luigi. And he was Googling Louis or Lou because the G was... and we couldn't find each other for maybe 24 hours? Yeah. Anyway, just to start on a light note, the first thing I can say is thank you. And amazing. What you have done is amazing. It's a story, and it's beautifully told here. And thanks to each of you for making it. We are just a small part of that chapter, but not an insignificant one. I think back then, proud of how India was shooting vaccines, 1 billion, 2 billion doses, but vaccines to be delivered need also syringes, and no one was thinking back then that the world was running out of syringes globally. And even India, which is one of the largest producers, was running out of this. So when the call from the government of India came to UNICEF, I went in Sandeep's mode, panic attack, total. I said, how the hell do I do this? 200 million, 150 million syringes. There is no stock in India. They need to come from overseas. And we need the money for it. And this is where, testifying to the points, I've never seen in 20 years in development something happening so fast. It was few calls, few meetings, done. We had the money and we could start procuring. And these syringes came from 6 different countries of the world and six different suppliers. At the time where the containers were all stuck in China and there was no access, but it happened. And I think it's a small piece of your story that means a lot when it comes to the entire vaccination drive. And maybe part of the reason why we're here today is also because we are all vaccinated and went through this. So for me, I think thinking backwards, what my takeaways were first, quick. Second, easy discussion, dialogues, very open. This is an asset that I hope you will carry forward. And third, it was simplicity of processes. You didn't need 600 signatures, processes, files. Everything could be worked very quickly and all could be sorted. So I think these were big pieces of a new way you have done. It's not only the scale, it's also the speed and the approach to it. And when it was all over and all done, I think one of the things that for us at UNICEF has been important, and it is partly, of course, went into COVID. When the vaccination was over, the rest went into the system. For children, for women, for patients. So the transition of all the learnings of COVID into a broader health system is important, and a lot of the oxygen stuff you have done will speak to that as well. Once all done, we engaged in other discussions, totally different. And at this time, we weren't driving anything. We were just proposing, but the team came back and brought another disruptive way of challenging us. You are celebrating two years. We are an old elephant of 75 years. That's what UNICEF will celebrate next year. So you came, human-centric design. Let's disrupt the way of planning health systems, budgeting, and this was how this time was crypto challenging us, not us challenging them. And we are moving the first steps in Meghalaya, in Mizoram, and in other states, hopefully up north. So this is also a way of seeing something that comes from a personal sense of urgency and emergency transform into a newer way of thinking. I was asked to share a few thoughts about how does this fit within the broad spectrum of philanthropy and aid and development. And for me, I think we were chatting over lunch, and Sandeep gave me this definition, the latecomer or late starter advantage. I think you have that one, and it's important. You can avoid repeating a number of errors or learning mistakes that many other partners have done. And that can make you faster and bypass a number of steps. For me, in the space where we are, one needs to innovate, and I see you're doing that, or you are aiming at that. Of course, adding, not duplicating what the system is doing, and the system is complex. There's private, public, and everything else. So there is research, and is part of it. And there is a need also to support what is the day-to-day issues with the inequities for people, be it education, health, nutrition, water, and that happens a lot through government services, the social services. So also supporting big blocks of programs that may be there but not happening everywhere as they should, I think will add a lot of value of what you can do. So I would say, again, sitting on 75 years of UNICEF India and looking at you guys jumping, first challenge us. All, whoever is government, UN, NGOs, you have this beautiful position of coming fresh, bringing disruptive thinking, challenging the way things are, and I think that's a great added value. I would say it's important to remain light, simple, fast, and again, adding, for me, coming from where I work and where I've dedicated a long part of my life, if I look at this country, which hosts a third of, or 20% of the children of India, 300 million children sit in this country. Whether it's in your strategic plans or not, but please start from children. They are the future generation, and there is huge needs for the kids of India. Many of them are still struggling. I every day remind myself, when at the end of the day I'm exhausted, that there are about 500,000 babies who don't make it to 1 month of life in this country. They die before 28 days of life, still today. And that, I think, if I were to give my open call to Blockchain for Impact, is please look at the kids of this country. They are the future of India, but also the future of the world by the scale of this country, by the scale at what the country is growing. So with this said, I won't take much longer. I hope I've made it to my time. But again, on behalf of the entire UNICEF, thank you so much, and good luck.
So you actually stole my lines, because I was going to narrate the story of the... sorry, Luigi, I'm going to request you to come back. We have a gift hamper for you, Sandeep. If I can just please request you to present it to Luigi. Thank you so much. My apologies. Yes, so coming back to the story of the name, definitely something that I'm going to remember for a really long time. It literally took me 2 days to figure out whom I was supposed to talk to. I kept looking for this person called Louis. I also found a Louis who had worked with UNICEF in India, but had retired. So I wrote to him on LinkedIn, and I got a reply saying, not working there anymore. So I think if you look back, there are so many snippets of this kind, but things were happening at such a massive pace and such a massive scale. And we also recently, we have Dinesh, who's cartooning and doodling the session for us today. And I found out recently that he was also a volunteer initially at the fund, and a lot of the initial parts of the fund he has documented. We do have small printouts that will be kept somewhere. Yes, it's with Dinesh. Dinesh, he's in the corner there. So a lot of those, I think, are absolute gold in terms of how it's been captured, the stories of different volunteers, a lot of catchphrases that we used to use very often during that time. So it's really, really cool. So during this time, I think we went from doing a lot of relief work, but there was also a growing understanding to us that as we started doing relief and started speaking to the partners, there was a massive opportunity to turn this fund into a public health fund. And I think that's where, that's one of the reasons why we are here today, because we have that understanding, that realization, and we have the passion to see this through. During that time, we've done projects with Celco to solar power health centers. We've partnered with CNES to help build an ecosystem of boat clinics and hospital ships in Assam. The idea being building a resilient public health infrastructure and a public health system which can operate during the floods. So I think that's the kind of work that we see ourselves doing. And one of the other areas, I think, where we intend to do a lot of work going ahead is in the field of genomics, genome sequencing. We've been able to do a fair bit of work with CRISPR bits. So I think during the course of this event, you'll also get to hear parts of where we came from and also parts of where we're going. With that, I would like to section, which is a panel discussion. And I'd like to invite Dr. Pooja Agarwal, who's the Program Director for the Biomedical Research and Innovation at the work that we'll be doing. And on the panel are Dr. Angela Chaudhary, Dr. Vaijayanti Gupta, Dr. Satya Prakash Das, and Dr. Chandrasekhar Nair. Could I please request you to make your way to the stage?
Thank you, Naga. Okay. And thank you, everyone. So, So for the panel discussion, we want to discuss on making Bharat Atmanirbhar in biomedical science, research and innovation. So Atmanirbhar, or self-reliant, is very important for India, both for its growth and development. And this applies to every different sector. But particularly in biomedical research and innovation, what this means is we need to get a self-sufficiency in our healthcare through indigenous or in-house developed technologies and solutions. And as we saw earlier, COVID-19 had shown us a mirror, both in terms of what we did right and what we can improve. So today we have an excellent panel here to discuss how we can move towards making Bharat Atmanirbhar in biomedical research and innovation. So let's start off with the introduction of our panelists. We have Dr. Chandrasekhar Nair, who's a co-founder and CTO of Big Tech Labs and Mall Biodiagnostic, which specializes in development of rapid, low-cost, and high-quality affordable diagnostic solutions. And he is the recipient of prestigious Infosys Prize in Engineering and Computer Science for his contribution to the development of TrueNet platform. Welcome. We have Dr. Angela Chaudhary, Chief Catalyst at Swasti, who is dedicated in adding 100 million healthy days to the lives of the marginalized by 2030. She has designed a multidisciplinary collaboration platform for environmental surveillance called Precision Health. She is a board member of Catalyst Foundation, Swasti, and 2 WHO committees. Welcome, Angela. Dr. Vaijayanti Gupta from CRISPR Bits, who's a molecular biologist trained in genomics and genetics, and has worked at numerous reputed organizations, including NIH. Over the last 2 decades, she has worked to take cutting-edge technologies, including NGS tests and CRISPR-based assays for clinical and public health application. Welcome, Vajanti. And Dr. Satya Das, who is the founding head for strategy and entrepreneurship at BIRAC, which is India's nodal bioinnovation agency, is a designer of innovation ecosystem and has worked to deploy numerous programs that have supported 3,000 startups, 80+ incubators, and led to 400 biomed products in India. He is a board member of Venture Center and an advisor at Blockchain for Impact. So, welcome, sir. So, without further ado, what I'm going to do is ask the first question to everyone, and I'll request. Yes, it's on? All right, much better. I can see from here. So the first question, I guess, is for everyone, and my only, again, request is to stay with the time, and the request to the audience is we won't be able to take questions, but we request you to take the discussions at dinner. So the first question for making Bharat Atmanirbhar in this is, what are the challenges that you see exist in biomedical innovation currently? And what, in your opinion, your respective sectors do towards making Bharat Atmanirbhar for biomedical research and innovation? Dr. Nair.
I think the lady should go first. she has requested you to go. The lady has requested you to go. Okay. Our translation ecosystem is broken. I don't think we have a serious translation ecosystem, and that needs to happen. Otherwise, the innovation that Satya and many others like him have nurtured, fostered, are not going to see the light of the day. And if that does not happen, you don't have impact. That is something that all of us have to work towards. That's my short answer.
Thank you. Angela?
As a public health agency that works for the vulnerable, we often have scientists come to us with their ready-made products to see whether we're able to communitize them. And that's exactly what you said. The translation ecosystem is not available, perhaps because the people's voices or it wasn't a people-centered design, or it wasn't even solving a problem that was needed to be solved. So that people need to be in the center.
Okay, thank you. Vajanti?
Just continuing on what Chandy and Angela said, innovations can happen anywhere in the world. There are a lot of cutting-edge technologies that keep coming out, but its adaptation into the local ecosystem is what has not happened yet. So solutions that are pulled out, kits that are developed in countries, in the other end of the world will not work in India. Neither will solutions. So solutions will have to emerge from the grassroots, and this is where I think our startups and industry can play a really important role.
Thank you.
This looks like a rapid fire round. But anyway, first and foremost, I think, in my last 20 years of seeing this ecosystem, I haven't seen the kind of commitment and philanthropic funding that Sandeep and Vitalik have brought. So thank you for your generosity. And I think that definitely goes to say, to Chandy's very humble point of fragmented markets and fragmented healthcare landscape here in India. And he didn't expand on what he said, but he is the person who single-handedly, along with his partners, has brought diagnostics to every doorstep in India. So he's been very humble, and it's before BIRAC and all of that. The second thing, and because they went so fast, I'll take a little bit of my time. Is that in terms of, we can send spaceships to moon on one side, but we also can't do a potholed road on the other. That is the struggle that we are having in terms of policy, in terms of implementation, all of that. Pandemic showed the mirror to us, like we saw a wonderful video. I think the mindset of translation is very important. That's the big challenge. Regulation, our regulatory landscape itself. That's the second one. The third one to me is funding that is deep and that is sustained. We don't see that. Those checks of INR 50 lakhs won't work anymore, I think so. And third is, again, taking from his point, what he has done in the last 20 years is scale. And for scale, we need a whole ecosystem. That mindset is not there, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Satya. No, I think this is a good start, and thank you for keeping your time. But I will move on to asking specific questions. So, yes, I think transnational ecosystem, and we need the mindset to move forward, identify and look at problems at the grassroots and people-centric. So, Chandy, if I may ask again, starting with you, what do you believe your organization, which Satya also explained, which has succeeded in taking these diagnostics, how can we set this mindset across, other and making Bharat Atmanirbhar means that we are able to take diagnostic, take innovation to scale and make it accessible for people. So what do you think we can do, and how can we nurture more such homegrown innovation?
So there are many parts to this question. It's actually it is the journey of translation in a nutshell. But see, most of us, when we start off as innovators, we have an idea, assuming that the idea is well fleshed out, assuming that we are able to get to a prototype fairly quickly. The question is, what do you do next? This entire translation from that design stage to design for manufacturing is something that the Indian manufacturing ecosystem has to possibly mature significantly more. We cannot depend on external ecosystems anymore. I think it is high time that we build excellence in that space, and that by itself is a very major step. The second is, how do you take this to global markets? You can't think of innovation for India. If there is something that is coming out of India, you want to scale this globally. And therein comes challenges of regulation, challenges of distribution, support. And as we've seen in our own case, when you're talking about point-of-care products, they're very different than laboratory-based products to support and to ensure that they are up all the time, etc. The third is the commerce related to scale, and public health is not an easy market to work in. And understanding that across the globe and how do we reach those global markets are all issues that all of us need to address to scale. What we are trying to do as a company is trying to leverage whatever we have learned and see whether we could help other innovators follow the path that we have taken, yes, and help them to scale without necessarily getting into all of the equity acquisition mode. Essentially accelerate their go-to-market by working together with them, because it is all about impact. At some stage, if you are a company that is looking at creating a solution for public health, then you're no longer thinking only of profitability. You're thinking about impact. And how do we do this together is something that we are trying to work our ways around.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very, very, very important point, and something that we truly believe that collaboration has to be the key. And how people can collaborate, learn, and pass on the knowledge without having to go through the pain of learning it by themselves. So my question, I mean, would you like, if anybody would want to add, but then my question is for you, Vajanti, following that, because you're here as representing a startup, in the ecosystem that's taking novel technologies for various things, and you have taken CRISPR technology for wastewater surveillance, for instance. So what do you think unique strengths are there that can make startups take their products to masses, in addition to collaboration? And what are the few of your recommendations for change in the ecosystem as you see that can support innovation?
Okay, the first question first. So startups are, they are agile and they can adapt very quickly. So, taking an innovation and making a prototype really quickly that actually fits into this ecosystem, serves the problem of this country, is something that, startups do. Also, startups have a lot of good talent, world-class talent these days in the startup section in India. So there is no dearth of talent. So building prototypes which are for the Indian masses, Indian market, is fairly quick. But then comes, I think what Chandy mentioned, is that we have to understand that when you build that prototype, what are your most key ingredients and what is the supply chain that is actually helping in building that product. You have to identify that quickly. You have to find the source of it. Ideally, something which is in India. And the indigenization of diagnostics program, which CCAMP and NCBS had led, was actually a great start to find people, manufacturers in India who were actually building quality products. The other important thing is if you are building equivalence in a product with what is already existing over there, then having a great QC system, a quality control system that actually puts your product at par. Of course, there has to be a cost advantage, but the QC, because if it's not going to be good, then people are going to throw it away right at the beginning and you have no start. On the other hand, if you're starting a product which is a brand new technology, and we have seen this even in lab developed tests like taking next generation sequencing, or even now the struggle that we have with CRISPR, is that you have to build a continuous education system with your clients and your customers. So for example, the CME systems that exist with the doctors, you have to work with them and educate them constantly, work with them, that this is the new technology, this is how it is used, this is why it's superior. Because unless it builds into their mindset, it's not going to be adapted so easily.
So in addition to having scale-up and in-house raw material, education of the ecosystem also for accepting those.
New technology is very, very important.
New technology is very important.
Yeah. And your second question on what can change, I think, collaborations, because startups are alone, they are small, they don't have, often one person in a startup wears many hats. So, being part of an ecosystem that actually, where you can actually draw in from talents, people. Someone might know the IP landscape a lot better. Someone might know implementation a lot better, might be able to help you with strategy. I think helping those collaborations, and that's where we look up to Blockchain for Impact, to be one of those organizations to actually help us.
Definitely, definitely. Some of the things that we are planning in future. Keeping the time in mind, my next question for Angela. I mean, you bring a unique perspective, Angela, and you've been working, in taking these diagnostic to the masses, right? So how can collaborations between public health sector, researchers, innovators foster biomedical advancement and address the healthcare needs? So what do you think needs to change, or what do you think needs to happen to make this?
I'm going to sound like a devil's advocate in this room right now, but RFPs are exactly the problem. RFPs put people in competition with each other, and they don't actually foster collaborative design. What we're trying to do is change an entire system. We're trying to bring about system transformation. We've seen that a problem, like a crisis like COVID, made us all shed our institutional mechanism, made us shed all the different, our egos, logos, everything, to get together to solve a problem. The typical funding, sets us all up for competition. and competing with each other. And then you don't reach the goal. If you're all talking about collaboration across private sector, across scientists, artists, etc., we shouldn't pit each other, but we should actually look at the veracity of the innovation itself and celebrate diversity of collaboration. So one thing I would really like change, and particularly because we're here and we're celebrating philanthropic, mettle towards a crisis, is to keep that happening and to support systemic change by supporting collaborations rather than increasing competition in a sort of artificial.
So I'll disagree maybe a tad bit. As we speak, we did roll out our feet to actually foster collaboration. So I think they can be made such that...
They have to continue.
Yes, they have to continue, and you can make funding more accessible if you bring different perspective to the table. So I do agree there is a need for collaborations, but we can do it through IFP too.
I'll respond to that. Actually, good point, Pooja. RFQs can also be innovated, right? So, you can make, GLUI. I mean, you can make a RFQ GLUI so that you can have partners come in and jointly pitch. So RFQ by very nature do not always mean competition. You can design that for collaboration as well. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. My last question for Satya. So what do you think public research institution can do? And this is going back to translation as we discussed, right? So how to translate these ideas into product? And what strategies and support mechanisms you believe are crucial in fostering this ecosystem?
You gave me 2 minutes. I'm 1 minute. I'm
this one was...
The last child always gets a little bit longer. Right?
But this was strict. This was strict for going a little faster.
This is an amazing audience, right? You have people who are innovating on one hand at the bench, from CRISPR bits here to many other startups, to people who are implementing it at the doorstep, right, with all those NGOs. And this platform itself is in some way reflective of what we do, bring this, onto one platform. Indian public research institutions, if you want me to concentrate on that, I said that mindset change needs to happen. Now, one thing is, we do not have much lived experience of taking an idea all the way to the market, right? Market, again, is considered a bad word in public research institution, right? So that mindset also has to change. Now, so how do you do that? You do that by bringing people together, by a network approach. All of that we can go on. We don't have time. You'll kill me if I go on and on about that. But those things we need to do, a very network approach where there's a platform where, startups meet Chandy, young faculty somewhere in Bangalore or in Pune or in Bombay meets Chandy and, somebody else. We haven't created our innovation for tomorrow yet, right? I mean, we've always been followers. mRNA vaccine. Oh, we are also doing mRNA vaccine now. Why didn't we do mRNA vaccine 10 years back, right? Where were those Modernas of India? But I'm not pessimistic in that way. In 10 years' time, we will have, right? But the second thing is this injection of capital, philanthropic capital that Sandeep and Vitalik are putting it on the table, that will be the vector for transformation. I haven't been excited in the last 15 years. The 2-3 times I've been excited. One was when BIRAC was being formed. Second is this is being formed. So how do you change that? Well, thank you. You have to have that lived journey. You have to have recognition, award systems, incentives within academia. That we can go and speak to our audience and the wider community to understand and then take it forward. Third is really doing risky science. Okay? I said about Moderna, right? Risky science. We don't do that. As a mindset, chalo, I'll be in Hindi a little bit, sorry for that. If you were to be on a matrimonial column 10 years back, anyone, if you are doing startups, it will be very difficult to find a bride or mostly bride, right? I mean, fathers won't give them. But now that is changing. Startup is a good word. Markets are a good word. And this is where I think our public research institutions also have to be onboarded. We'll have to be porous, open. There are ways to do that. There are a lot of failures. We have to wear our badges of failure as well. And I think this vectorial thing that, Gaurav and Pooja, you were leading, it will be amazing. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Satya. Yes, we are in the interest of time. I think we still have a few more minutes. I saw that this was set for 20.
Good, well spotted.
Yeah. So we have a few minutes. I'll just request a 30-second quick question, and this is for the panelists. If you were to just name one thing that we can change or would like to see change, what would that be? Satya?
Oh, you told me that I'm going to be the last. But anyway, that's okay. I've not played cricket, but I can take a googly. That's not a problem. One change that I want is in 12 months or in 18 months or 2 years?
2 years.
2 years is having 36 researchers whose mindset we have changed. Okay? That means that they have to understand the collective that is needed to take an idea to the market. So you need IP lawyers, Malati is here. You need incubation centers, Neha is here, Taslim is here. You need VC money, you need philanthropic money. That complexity of taking an idea to the market, if you can change 36 faculty, academia, into that, create Modernas, it will be wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Chandy, I'll just go.
I'd like to see 5 Indian product unicorns in the next 2 years.
Absolutely, yes. Angela.
I'll be a little esoteric. I'd like to see health unraveled. I'd like to see it demystified. I'd like to see everyone make more of an effort to really deconstruct what health actually means and demand for it. And that would make keep everyone in their discomfort zone and be able to, empower people themselves. And scientists do better to explain what they're exactly trying to do to save the world. So health unraveled in less than 3 years.
Thank you. Vajanti.
I think all the panelists have already mentioned all the points. Pretty much all of those, and risky projects, new innovations, and something which is sort of really, really cutting edge coming out of here.
Thank you. So with that, I would like to wrap. So that kind of sums up everything. We want to have changed minds, have unicorns, have health unraveled, and risky and demystified, and take risky projects forward, something that we are achieving, or trying to achieve, and moving forward through what we are going to do as biomedical research and innovation vertical. But thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. There is something for everyone, so I would like to just wait for a minute.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pooja and all the other panelists. Biomedical research and innovation will be one of our core verticals going forward. And I think a lot of the words that were encapsulated here about innovating, being able to take risks, being able to sort of be the funder that is able to come in and plug in the gaps where there isn't a funding ecosystem in India. I think those are the kinds of work that we look to do going forward in this field. So up next, one of the other pieces, and I believe one of the roles that philanthropy can play is that of a catalyst. The idea that philanthropy can come in and fund the risk and allow the generation of evidence that could further unlock public finance or sort of unlock government support is also something that we look to actively design and participate in. And we've seen a live example of this happening with one of the projects that we funded during the pandemic. And to talk about that, I'd like to next call upon Dr. Harish Hande from Selco Foundation. He's not only shown us, I mean, he brings a lot of experience, but I think he's also provided us with a lot of expertise in how we set up, in how we set up quick organizations, and actually set up this ecosystem that we have today. So, Harish, please.
Thanks, Sandeep, for inviting me here. Thanks, Sandeep and Vitalik, for this opportunity. And I would say there are a couple of things that have changed. I mean, what you guys have done, I hope that continues for the philanthropic sector. But before that, I'll start when Nagakarthik and I know where Puneet is somewhere, right? He's there. Hi, Puneet. Yeah. So when I think they approached Huda, one of my colleagues, and said, this is the amount of money, and I said, boss, nobody gives this much amount of money without a good M&E and 1 year of due diligence, right? And either then and when the money came, for me, what I got scared is, when money is given so fast, most of it is dependent on trust. And trust money has very less margin of error, which we have to realize. And we are not accustomed to in the civil society world, which is why a lot of the development actually gets repeated and repeated and repeated in many ways. And if I look at the state of Odisha, for example, for every 500 people, there is an NGO, and there is a policeman for every 900 person. So just because today philanthropy is used from a project-based, that it has not moved on. The type of philanthropy, because more time is wasted on due diligence, the M&Es, the etc., with long proposal, as somebody said, the beauty contests that happen between the NGOs to apply for the same set of monies, that we are not able to concentrate on creating an ecosystem that could actually go further. So the beauty of this money, for the way we looked at it, and in collaboration with two of the other partners here, Social Alpha, Manoj is here, and Ganesh from Cine, is how do we use this? Yes, we had the pandemic, we have a crisis. Let's not look at it as a project. Let's not look at, for example, the way we look at the floods in Uttarakhand, but theek hai, ho gaya, paisa, everybody gets emotional, puts in the money, then we go to another cycle of crises, and again we go into a set of money, then again we waste it for the same development work that we did the last time. How we said, okay, let's use this money to look at it to set a foundation that will actually solve a lot of the what you can't see crisis, as Luigi said, the maternal deaths, etc. Can we use this money to set the platform? And that's when we took the money, we said, can we transform it in a manner that it becomes kind of the foundation that you're building for Burj Khalifa, right? You're creating the foundation, and then, so this X amount of money that we got, we said, okay, let's do, the collaboration was SDG 7 for us, the utilization of sustainable energy. for 3,000 health centers in the country, where the immediate short term is COVID relief, the medium term is solar powering, the long term, that is 2 to 3 years, is changing the way that the health sector is working using sustainable energy as a catalyst. And so it becomes a permanent interventions of the monies that actually came in. So what has happened, Sandeep, now, and Vitalik, is that using your money, what we were able to do two things. One is, it was approximately $10 million for 3,000 was. And within that $10 million, we were able to show to the governments that we were able to do 3,000. India has to approximately 200,000 health centers, nodal point from sub-centers to everything else. The IKEA board came in. IKEA board came in and saw what we have done and said, okay, let's work on a $100 million program. And $100 million program to do 25,000 health centers. And they have now committed, on the basis of your 10 million, a 50 million into the program. And on the basis of that, the government of India has said, we would put in another X amount of money. And for example, now individual states like Meghalaya saying that if you put in 30%, we would put 70%, and by December or March of next year, 100% of the health centers in Meghalaya will be solar powered, and so that all the effective, needed services like maternal delivery, vaccine, baby warmers would not have to rely on unreliable electricity, but will have 24/7 using solar as a power. So by March of next year, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Shillong would be 100% solar, on the basis of the work that we were able. And by 2026, 100% of the Northeast, 10,000 health centers would be completely solar power, completely making it 100% reliable, including, it's not only solar power, including high efficient medical appliances in the remote areas, so the poor don't have to travel long distance to get essential services, teleservices, baby warmer, X-ray machine. So that's the transformation I expect the civil society to actually go forward, not like use it as, I'm glad that the name is now blockchain for impact. Its impact is the philanthropic monies that you have put in is like you are a relay race. You are the marathon runner, in the four parts, you're the marathon runner. The second one is 10,000 meters, the third is 5,000, and last is the 100 meters. That's the relay race, and hopefully the philanthropics across the world, including the Indian CSR, including the multinationals who actually put in money, need to look at how do we transform the way the money is given, rather than spending so much amount of money on due diligence. By the time you finish your due diligence, the problem is no longer the same problem that was there 2 years ago. So I think what we have done is, I hope the philanthropy, more than what, the crisis was brilliant, what you did, but more than that, for the sake of the needs of the poor of the world, whether it's India, Africa, hopefully this example is touted as something that changes the way philanthropy is done. That fundamentally needs to change, and hopefully people learn, and somebody, Nagakarthik, we do a case study about, not just about the COVID relief, but if a change of philanthropy can actually create a much better impact, and to do that. And that's, I think, if you guys can push it to make it happen, it would actually have a greater impact. Thank you for giving this opportunity. And
Sandeep, if I can request you again to please give Harish a gift hamper. Sir. So I think along with sort of showing us the transformative work that is possible with this kind of funding, Harish has personally played a role in actually helping us organize and set up an ecosystem that will allow us to build a team and actually help scale this thing. So I think everyone in the team, so another round of applause for him for that. All right, so moving forward, the other vertical that we look at working with is the health system, and we want to try and do this at a district level and sort of try and help build ecosystems at the district level, which will help transform the health system in a very ground-up manner. So I think that's what we're calling the District Full Stack Program. It's an ambitious effort. So we have a panel discussion lined up next about rethinking public health funding. So I think Dr. Ramnath, if you can please come on stage. So Dr. Ram will be moderating the panel. Ms. Shama Karkal, Mr. Manoj Kumar, and Dr. Prashant. If I may please invite you on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. Rethinking health systems funding, like how do we flip the whole equation to really look at for a greater impact. So, recent years, health system funders, their efforts have encountered challenges in maximizing their impact and ensuring sustainable health system improvements for those who need it the most. Today we have gathered a remarkable panel of experts who will dive deep into this critical topic to identify key issues, analyze current funding approaches, and explore potential solutions. My name is Ramnath, and I'm Director of Health Systems at Blockchain for Impact. I'll be the moderator for this session. With us, we have esteemed panelists who have an experience of more than 20 plus years of working in policy, catalyzing change, research, and innovation. So first I will introduce Shama. Shama Karkal is a partner at Swasti and chair of Asia Pacific Alliance for Sexual and Reproductive Health. She's also a trustee of the Catalyst Foundation. Shama, welcome. Yeah. And next we have Manoj Kumar, founder of Social Alpha and director at Mac33 Aero. He also serves as a trustee of Tata Institute of Genetics and Society, India. He is also co-founder and the director of Sustain Plus Energy Foundation. Welcome, Manoj sir. Yeah. And next we have Prashant. Prashant NS is the director and health equity cluster lead at IPH, Institute of Public Health, Bangalore. He is also the member of the governing council of Institute of Tropical Medicine, Antwerp, Belgium. Welcome, Prashant. Yes. So now we will dive more into the questions. Now, if I have. So I'll start with Shama. Okay. Yes. So you have been a catalyst and as a system thinker. So according to you, what are some common challenges you face with funders, especially, and how these challenges impact your outcome or the success of the project?
I hope this is clear. All right. Thanks, Ram, for that introduction. So I think actually the previous panel covered a lot around challenges with funders. So I think we're going to try and not repeat any of that. But I think one of the big things that we often see, and I really hope as we try to shift funding practices, we will try to work with people who are closest to the problem. I think a lot of the times you're looking for who are the known names, and as the word due diligence kept coming up in the previous, a lot of the people who are actually dealing with the problems, are closest to the problems, don't actually have the due diligence in place, right? So I think how do we, and that's often a problem, right? We're working with established players. Nothing wrong there, but I think if we really want to be innovative, solve for problems 10 years out, 20 years out, we really need to be working with a very diverse set of actors. I think the second piece, and this came up again, there's a lot of back and forth documentation. There's a lot of tell me exactly how you're going to do it. I loved it when Harish said, tell me the M&D, tell me everything. We're working on wicked problems. I honestly sometimes don't know everything we're going to do. We have a larger plan and we're going to figure it out. So can we co-create? Not everybody is willing to co-create that, right? Are we willing to take risks? Often not. I think everybody does try to want to be, tell me where it has worked and we'll do more of it. But if we haven't done it, unlikely that we're going to try and do something new, right? I think this idea that an RFP can say you should have a consortium and therefore a consortium will get formed and that will create an ecosystem, I think we may be fooling ourselves, right? I think collaborations, being able to cut across silos, work across ecosystems is work that needs, in itself requires, let's say, nurturing, facilitation, funding, and that doesn't happen. Right? Yeah. It is that competition that we're talking about. So we've created transactional relationships and we create competition and that doesn't help at all, right? Yes. Those are parts of the problem. Everybody will go do pieces. Beauty contest, said Harish, yes. And we don't solve the real problems, right? Yes. Because the real problems are structural. They've gotten ingrained. We don't look at interconnectedness of things. We're all trying to, can we break this down? So there's something we solve for. But then the big picture, we don't solve for, right? So then we're left wondering what those problems are and why we didn't achieve those results. So I think the challenge is that the people closest to the problem, people who could solve the problems are often not at the table, not being considered, their voice is not on the table, right? We're looking at innovation in a very sort of micro manner, and then we're trying to say, hey, we didn't solve the big problems. And the transactional pieces, and I think then what is it that we really want to solve for, right? And I think actually when we talk about health systems, we forget that human beings are part of that health system. And oftentimes we're only solving till the facility levels. What happens after that? The problems are in the community. And the people who work in the community actually don't often work with the health systems per se. So I think these kinds of issues are often the ones that funders and all of us who sometimes work on these issues don't address often enough. So I'll stop there.
Yes. Continuing with Manoj sir. So now she talked about risk and the funders not taking risk. Why do you think it happens? Like, what is the reason?
Thanks for asking that question. Most of the time, the funders do not actually understand the problems and the risk associated with them. Because what they have is the money that has come to most funders through either a privilege or an endowment or their ability to raise money. But do you understand the problem that you are trying to solve? Are you working with the institutions or individuals who can solve the problem, right? And there are multiple players. And are you funding the entire enabling ecosystem or you are funding individual players here, right? So it's like if I take an analogy from an orchestra, you want to create a symphony and run a well-managed orchestra, you should be funding each and every player and also the larger ecosystem in which, probably the back office, which people are not visibly seeing, or the sound operators or the light operator. Unfortunately, most of the time, the funding is either for a specific purpose without its forward and backward integration, and two, it's suboptimal and untimely. So I might be sitting in a government department approving you have funding for X amount of money, but when will I release and how much money I will release to you has nothing to do with your performance and your cash flow needs, right? So learning from the markets, capital aggregation and allocation is something very important that funders need to understand, right?
Okay. Now, Prashant, continuing understanding. So funders typically use a lot of measure, numbers and, the way they measure success, does it actually align? They use a lot of indicators. Does it actually align with what is actually required in the ground and what actually people require?
Yeah, I'll build a bit on what Shama mentioned. The idea that in health systems we are solving what she called wicked problems, right? So, and I would like to just draw a slight deviation from the previous panel where they were looking at innovations, products which come out of intellectual effort, which are of course aimed at solving human problems. But these products are made by innovators, smart, intelligent people in laboratories, and they are geared towards solving real-world problems elsewhere. But in health systems, we are talking of quote-unquote boring stuff, right? How do local governments work? How is solid waste managed in this village? Who is getting left behind from a health scheme, right? Now for these, innovation is in the form of practice-based wisdom. So intellectual effort and innovative mindset has a relatively small role to play in this. What we need is, like what she was talking about, is relationships, leadership, everyday leadership, social norms, the ability that in a setting, someone raises a question, let's say about gender. Let's say, hey, we're doing something wrong. But these have got normalized. We need someone to step up and say that. That becomes the innovation. It's not really a product. An idea of challenging an everyday norm becomes an innovation. And I think, unfortunately, funding in health systems is moving in the direction of product-oriented funding. So they are all looking at metrics. How can I measure how many people were reached, how many products were delivered? Those are all very important. It's very important to deliver vaccines and products on time everywhere. But in health systems, it is about fixing processes and demonstrating and creating sustainable leadership in multiple scales, and in 600 odd districts in the country. So, I mean, so my summary piece is that if we have to take science into health systems, we'll need to do much more than focusing on measurements and focusing on innovation the way we, define it.
So, complex, definitely complex health system. So, Shama, you have been in this, the complex, juggling a lot of, what do you think the funders should do to actually address this issue, or like how do they approach this?
So I think one thing, I mentioned this already, and I'm actually part of another collaborative. It's a global movement, and one of the things that the movement put out 2 years ago is something called shifting funding practices. And if Blockchain for Impact team has not seen it, I would definitely encourage you to look at it. And it has, a 10-point agenda for funders across the globe. And I'm happy that funders, donors actually look at it, and we have people signing up saying we look at this, right? So I'm just going to pick a few things from that. And I think the first big thing is to trust the people closest to the problem, people who are working on that problem, and take that risk. Manoj was right, people don't understand. But funders, if they're going to invest in understanding everything and then release the money, I think we're defeating the whole purpose of why this is. So I think take the risk, work with trusted people, go big. And I think it is not about breaking this down into the smallest piece and solving for it, which I look at it. I mean, I think it's this whole, somebody called it the engineering mindset, right? And I don't know whether it is about engineering, I'm not one, but about analyzing it and then taking the smallest piece and then trying to solve for it. But I think, like Prashant very elegantly put it, I think we need to solve for the bigger problem, the long-term problem, right? And so that innovation is about the ecosystem. And so how are you willing to take that big risk there and take and see something that is not there? I think, Sandeep's frustration and putting out that tweet and say, I'll create this multi-sig wallet and just try this out because that's what I know. But that was a risk, right? How do we take that from a systems perspective? And actually, maybe for health systems, it's not about talking about medicine and technology and the clinical aspects of it. Maybe the innovation is somewhere else. And so are we willing to look at where the levers for that change are and actually, go in that direction versus doing more of what we have done so far?
Continuing with the innovation, Manoj sir, you might have like development funders didn't quite grasp the the idea of the potential solution you have already put. So how did you eventually convince them? Any anecdotes, any examples so that we can learn from that? Like how do you convince funders?
It's difficult. Like my fellow panel members have also highlighted that the problem is not a supply side problem, it's a demand side problem, right? So until and unless the relevance and contextuality of an innovation is understood, we can't just keep this product push approach, right? And for example, if you are working in low resource setting, you are pushing a product that runs on, say, continuous supply of 220 volt electricity, as Harish would have told you that after supplying several equipments, you realize that the place does not have electricity, so you need something which is completely off grid. So problem is actually energy access and not necessarily the healthcare, right? So understanding the complexity of the demand side, curating demand or the need of healthcare workers from there. And this becomes really a big challenge, because if your funder is looking at Philips, GE and Siemens and their product and expecting that such a product would be shipped and the problems at the grassroots level would be solved. So for example, if you do not have trained healthcare workers in a village, and the entire healthcare system is dependent upon, say, ASHA workers, right? Do you have a solution that can shift point of care screening and diagnostics from a very sophisticated healthcare delivery model that's applicable in large hospitals in Bangalore to something that an ASHA worker with little training can actually use and provide some kind of inputs for early screening, right? Which effectively means you want to do task shifting from a diagnostic devices focused medical care delivery system in Bangalore to a more relationship focused system that Prashant is running. Then you need an innovation that is relevant and contextual for that. And explaining that to a funder is not going to be easy, because the funder is going to compare with 20 pipeline of startups at different TRL stages and then ask you how much money do you need in order to ship tomorrow, right? And it's not like innovation takes time, right? It could be a 5 to 6 year journey before you actually deliver something that's contextual. So, there are people who have been working in this space where they work with people who are working in the front line and also backward integrated with the R&D ecosystem. And, as you use this word quite often, we also use in our work, the full stack ecosystem, right from R&D, idea innovation stage to deployment and actually delivering evidence that you are solving the problem, that needs to be created. And funders need to understand that. And this is not an easy challenge. This is really difficult.
Yes.
Yes, very quickly. I just wanted to build on this and take two quick examples. Luigi brought up earlier the idea of children and the importance of investing in children. And most of our country's children, most of them go to Anganwadis, not to, there's a large number. So when automatically, I would say, okay, if we have to impact children, we need vibrant Anganwadis, which is really triggering learning, cognition, an Anganwadi with toys and games. Look at our Anganwadis. Now, is that only a problem of making these materials available, or is it a problem of making an Anganwadi a lively space? Now the latter is a more systems framing. We need to make Anganwadis a vibrant space. The Anganwadi worker needs to be happy and needs to be that. It's not merely about, okay, what do our Anganwadis lack? Toys, roof, a toilet and piped water. So that. And the second one, things like, for example, in COVID, trust in government hospitals, that became a big issue. How do we build that? With dignified care. Yeah. Now, for our people to walk into a district hospital and get care with dignity, if that is an outcome, this way of funding will not cut it. Where we'll have a log frame and say, ensure medicines are supplied, training is done for doctors, Yes, all of that you can tick. Training will happen, medicines will get supplied, but dignified healthcare may not happen. So we really need to rethink our goalposts when it comes to health systems, and it should be different from product innovations, which is governing a lot of the biomedical funding.
Sorry, I also have to build on this. Just to say that, Anganwadi is outside of the health department, right? So it's a different department you have to work with, and we will affect the health outcomes of children, right? That again is just connecting dots that we like to keep them separate and think like that, but you're going to have that. And again, for dignified care, the way we train our people has to change. What we value and communicate as a society has to change, and that cuts across multiple things, right? From the education department all the way to medical education, etc. And again, those dots don't get connected because we're not looking at it as, we'll deal with it when they come into the hospital, and that's too late, really. So.
Yeah. I have quite a,
You're under the clock.
Yes. But I had actually a very tough question to Prashant. In terms of, usually it's all top-down. And how do we integrate bottom-up research? How do researchers, how do academics support this bottom-up? Because there's a huge lack in that understanding, one thing. And in crisp, in short, can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
We do that by letting go of power of who will define the agenda of what will happen with the money. We create trustful places where agenda gets locally defined in terms of what shall happen with research funding, as opposed to saying that I am going to put money into tuberculosis or I am going to put money into this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are out. Yes.
That you really want to create impact, you have to align the incentives of communities with the innovators, researchers, and social workers. Until unless that convergence happens, everybody will continue to work in the practice. Markets do it very well. In social sector, in development sector, we don't do it. And that is the reason why we are so fragmented and not able to work with each other. Because our incentives are not aligned.
We are on dot. So I'll just summarize what we have discussed. And actually, it's a kind of a segue for our district full stack in terms of everything what we discussed really aligns. And today in the morning, we had this small workshop, and it really aligns to what we are thinking. First is the trust, really the bottom-up approach on the relevance, leadership, and their capacity to grasp the real problem statement from the ground. So, thank you so much, and we will continue this discussion, and really insightful, and thank you so much.
Take it, Uri. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram and the panelists. Over the last 2 years, I think we've started as CryptoRelief and slowly transformed our way. It's really nice how everyone's already using blockchain for impact when they speak. So I think that's a new identity and a journey that we've been on, and we're trying to. And then this event is a way for us to signal what the way forward is going to be. What we have next is a short video that encapsulates, I think, a lot of what has been spoken today, and also talks about a little bit about the brand and the identity of blockchain for impact. So it's a quick, high energetic video, and we can get to that right away. If I system in a way was bared open, and that actually gave us almost a crash course into understanding what the gaps are, what are the things that we should be doing different. What this has resulted in is a report, and I would like to invite Mr. Girish on stage, along with Sandeep, Vitalik, Harish, if I can also invite you on stage. Most of you will find access to the report along with your gifts that you will get back, and it's also going to be available online. This talks a little bit more in detail about our identity, about what we plan to do going forward. So, Girish, if I may request you to. Thank you so much. Up next is a part of the panel that I have been a little excited about, because I'm going to be the moderator for the last panel for the day, and all right, so this is definitely something that I've personally been looking forward to. So first of all, thank you, both of you, for joining us here today and for making all of this happen. I think the power of a tweet thing over the last few years has caught on inside the team, and we've been thinking about this for the last few days. So I'll actually get straight into questions, and since it's a audience that largely works in the sector that you guys don't work in, so we'll try and keep it about philanthropy, about the work, and then about your thoughts on a lot of what has happened. Vitalik, I'll start with you. Just want to get an understanding of when Sandeep made the tweet and you sort of saw all of this happening. What was running through your head? Why did you choose CryptoRelief? What were you thinking at that point?
So I was following the COVID situation, I guess everywhere, like all internet warriors were at the time, and I remember starting to see the news of the outbreak happening in India, and it seemed like a very serious situation. It seemed like cases were rising very quickly, and like something uniquely bad was starting. And I noticed that, like, at least it felt to me that a lot of the people in the rest of the world were just kind of not noticing the situation at all, right? Like I remember how the number of cases just blew up very quickly over the course of about somewhere between 1 and 2 weeks, and like it took like something like 2 weeks for the even the U.S. government to like make even one tweet about it, and the only people I saw like seriously talking about it were like there were a few like Silicon Valley tech people, and like a lot of people there are close to India, and so they were on the ball with the situation very early, but like otherwise very few people. And so it seemed like a very bad situation, and that there was an opportunity to help. And the only way that like I personally have to help is I like at first actually I just had I just had my own money, right? My like ETH that I had for a long time, and first I donated some of that to CryptoRelief. Actually, I think it was Balaji who first pointed out to me that CryptoRelief as an organization existed, and I thought it made sense, and I figured I would send it to them, and like let them do with those funds, like what makes sense for them to do to make the outbreak better. And then very soon after that, basically right after that, right, this whole dog coin situation was blowing up, right? And I remember at first, like I was just ignoring it, right? Like I saw people on the internet talking about like, oh, there's Shiba Inu and there's Akita Inu and there's all of these different coins. And at first I was not really paying attention. I remember someone even told me that like, oh, you actually have a bunch of these in your wallet. And at first I actually did not pay attention because that wallet was a cold wallet, right? It's a wallet where, like, for security reasons, I did not even have the key with me. Like, one part of the key was with me and another part of the key was written down on a piece of paper in Canada. And like, I did not even want to like fly over to Canada because there were still COVID restrictions and quarantine and all that. And like if I were to put those two pieces of a key together, like that would basically, like that would be a security risk, right? And so like at the exact same time, I would have to like set up a whole new wallet. It would be like really annoying. And so I really did not want to touch like anything there. But then I saw the value of those coins just like blowing up, and it just blew up extremely quickly. And at some point I realized like, wait, like there's somehow these joke coins have just like gotten so big that like I felt like morally like I had to like do something, because like we know how these coins are, right? They blow up, and like at the time I actually thought that like surely like even 4 days later it could crash down to zero, right? So I called my mom, basically told her like, hey, go into this closet and like read out all the digits of this number for me. And like I spent 2 days basically setting up a new wallet, like doing all of this complicated crypto stuff that like I had to be really careful about. And I did basically sent some out all of these dog coins that I had. A lot, the biggest share to CryptoRelief, but also to a lot of other organizations. And there's a lot to give well, some to the Methuselah Foundation and some of these other groups. And like at the beginning, I actually, like I did not seriously expect it to be worth like $1 billion, right? Like because like my thinking basically was like these are joke coins, right? And like a couple of traders on a market like made them look like they're worth 20 billion, but like probably in reality, I was hoping that like maybe, if we were lucky, Sandeep would get like 25 or 50 million out of it. And I figured, the situation in India is still, still ongoing. Cases still rising. They need all the help that they can get, and might as well send them the coins. And then actually, to my great surprise, like I realized just over the next few months that like this dog coin was somehow a lot more stable and like had a lot more lasting power than like I ever possibly imagined. And they were actually able to get like many hundreds of millions of dollars out of these sales. And like that just like that impressed me, right? Like I was not expecting it. Like my, like even as a crypto person, my attitude was like, okay, like there's coins that have technology, but like these coins, like they have a dog, right? And like even they're worth 5 billion today, they'll be worth 0 in 1 week, and somehow they were not. Like somehow, like Shiba Inu is like a thing even today, right? Like even today, it has quite a bit of value, and so I was, definitely. Happy to see that these joke the joke coins are actually able to help so many people. But of course, it turned into a much bigger responsibility than we were expecting for all of us as well.
Sandeep, did you sign up for this? What were you thinking?
No, I mean, that video was also saying that when I started this, that tweet, I was thinking that, before that only I was doing some relief work with my friends back in Delhi, and Dr. Gaurav also I was looking at, because he was leading, and actually he was my inspiration for, doing all of this, because I was going through, I was living that horrifying times through his eyes, speaking with him late in the night that, what is going on, how many people are dying and this and that, and, doctor's dilemma where, they have 2 patients, and one is a 20-year-old guy and one is a 65-year-old person, and whom to save and all that. They had to almost play God at that point in time, and many of his staff, 50% of his staff left and all those things. So it was already very horrifying. So when I made that tweet, I actually generally am a very intuition-based person, right? So at that point in time, I just said that, as I mentioned that, my whole family got COVID. I also got COVID, and I was like, screw this virus, as I was saying, and I'm going to do something about it. So I started that. I thought that, probably I'll get like $500,000, $1 million, maybe $5 million max, because crypto has a lot of scrutiny in a lot of geographies in the world, especially India. So definitely I did not sign up for that. And then, I think because Balaji I was connected to him, so I spoke with him. I think he then reached out to Vitalik that, hey, this is something good is happening. Once Vitalik donated his personal money, people only see the Shiba Inu, but he actually donated like cold hard cash also before, like, $3, $4, $5 million, $6 million before that only. So it has already become big, and then, he decided to drop all those dog coins on various, charities. Only good thing for me was that because I am also, founder at Polygon, and I know that how crypto communities think and all that. So I was able to somehow, initially there was panic when he just transferred. But the moment I got battery back into my phone, and I immediately calmed them down that, like, guys, I'm not going to sell them all in the market in one go. There'll be like 3, 4, 6 months program. And also I think, we were able to engage also the community that this is actually this money will be used for good. And obviously that's why it's like, super high on my conscience also, that this has to be absolutely transparent and, publicly auditable and everything. So yeah, I mean, from there it, kept on becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And,
so I think it turned out to be a huge responsibility, and I think transparency and accountability is something that you've spoken from the start. What were some of the things that you told the team in the start to sort of ensure that, that we do things right? Yeah.
I mean, see, I don't want to really take take a lot of credit for this transparency and all that. The real reason is I'm also scared. There's a liability on me, right? Because, I actually mentioned in the original tweet also that, I will take full responsibility. And especially in a country like India where this, the stance against crypto, and generally it's bigoted, right? Like crypto means some, bad money or dirty money or whatever. So, it was very clear in my mind that I am already, founder of one of the top 10 companies or projects or communities in the space. So it was super, super important for me, and it is super important for me that everything happens on CryptoRelief, which is impeccably transparent. Also, the default nature of blockchains is like that, they are like hugely auditable. Like many, as you already know, that many media houses have independently audited everything, went and spoke to every NGO where we donated money and all that. And that is super important, because otherwise, media's interests are super misaligned. Like they just want to do headlines which are like catchy, and negative generally is more catchy, and they can do all that kind of stuff which can relate or result in a lot of other liabilities for me. So that's why it is very important. And then obviously as a responsibility also, it's a big responsibility, and that's why I keep saying to you guys that whatever you do. But yeah, I mean, I understand that the first 6 months was super tough. Like, the journey when Puneet and then you and, later on Dr. Gaurav joined in, and I requested a lot of my college friends and, MBA friends and all that, whoever can join in, they started helping. But first 6 months, there was a huge kind of dilemma between transferring this money back into India as soon as possible, because that's where the money was needed immediately, and also following these structures. And that's why those structures have been so difficult for us. And now in the last 1 year, we have worked a lot on those structures and all that, because we want to do it more sustainably and more long term. But yeah, so that's why these things super important.
Vitalik, as someone who sort of is a young and new entrant to philanthropy in a sense, do you look at it differently from folks who have looked at before? What is your view on philanthropy and giving back to communities?
Yeah, I mean, I think, my view is pretty simple, that I think, in the world there's a lot of problems, and a lot of very serious and very important problems. And to anyone with resources, those problems are also just opportunities to do a lot of good and really improve people's lives. And if you think about you're a rich person, and let's say you have $3,000, right? And on the one hand, $3,000 could convert an international economy class ticket into an international business class ticket. But on the other hand, according to like the math from Give Wealth, $3,000 is like literally enough to save a person's life in the poorest parts of the world, right? And so, and like if you look at it that way, then I think like it just becomes obvious that like those are the most meaningful places to spend a very significant part of your money on, right? And so I think, like I was very convinced by those moral arguments very early on that, there's opportunities to like do very important things that like create big improvements to a huge number of people's lives, and a lot of them just, get neglected, whether it's whether it's because existing people are already, like they're kind of culturally set on focusing on other problems, which are, also important, but they're not neglected anymore, whether it's because there's like institutions that, like governments that have, a focus on one particular country or whatever other reason. And, like the nice thing about individuals, right, is that, like as an individual, you can be, like free of, a lot of these pressures if you choose to be, right? And like on the one hand, like that's, like that kind of funding is not always sustainable, right? And like you don't want something that, you want people to have a guarantee of for a very long time to like count on one particular individual continuing to be nice and benevolent, but like, on the other hand, when there are these moments where you just have to, like, there just is clearly a problem and there's an opportunity to do like just some very important high impact thing, then like there's value in being able to just basically go do it.
I also feel like, this is, as Vitalik said, like for us, for our generation actually, and especially I think this generation of tech entrepreneurs, generally this logic is very simple. That, we are, I don't think like, I don't want to speak for Vitalik, but but generally what I feel is the feeling is that we don't want to really do it for like the way previously, like people want to leave legacy or people want to, at times like, do good for other people also, right? Like, in our generation, I think one simple part is that, first of all, that this needs to be done. Somebody needs to do it, right? So if I have the resources, maybe I have some sort of responsibility. I feel Vitalik also thinks like that, like, he has a responsibility to do these things. Generally many of us will be like a little bit and like less social, and there's people interaction and all that, those things, doing good for others, where we know, like most of the people we do charity for, I don't think we ever meet them or we see them or anything like that. It's just that it needs to be done, like, it's very simple, and also it makes you feel good, like, for me, I don't want to be really, like, of course I like other people to be happy and everything, right? But I also want to say that I do the charity work or helping others because it makes me feel happy, right? And then, that I think is a much simpler path of thinking about it, instead of like, doing a lot of complicated things that people do. It's a convoluted thought, but yeah.
I liked what you said about responsibility, and also I align with it, because I think there's also a growing sense of responsibility towards, say, the effects of climate change or say, future pandemics and things like that. We've seen CryptoRelief. We've also seen how some other initiatives sort of spoke to us post that. There was crypto for Afghanistan, then there was crypto for Ukraine. So what are some of the things that the both of you feel that when we look at this as responsibility, and say if we look at something like climate change, what could the Web3, the crypto blockchain ecosystem bring to the world?
I think it's always important to look at crypto at the same time from two different angles, right? Because there is crypto, the technology, and then there's crypto, the ethos. And I think in every like actually successful example of crypto doing things, there's always an element of both, right? And as an application, like I mean, even in philanthropy, crypto has an immense amount of value, right? Like in a lot of the donations that I've given, like it's just makes it very simple and very convenient. You just put some things into into MetaMask or Gnosis Safe or whatever other like wallet you use, and click send, and people have the money immediately, right? And like with traditional banking systems, especially if it's internationally, you have to like go through all kinds of complexity and like figure out like even just dumb stuff like what do you put into this like field that says bank code when there's a different word for a bank code in this continent, and like all of this stuff, right? And
ACH.
Right. Well, then there's like Swift and there's BIC and like right. And like those benefits are real, right? And like a lot of the people I've talked to, like even or the people that I've even given money to, like a lot of them really appreciate it. But then there's also this whole important piece on the ethos side, right? And I think a lot of crypto projects, they believe in like being transparent, and especially when like dealing with other people's money, and making sure that people know where their money is going, right? And at the same time, they believe in a lot of local autonomy, right? Like if you give money to people, then like actually trust them, and don't go in and tell them like, oh hey, I'll give you money, but like by the way, I have my own like 6 bespoke preferences, and we're gonna earmark this, and like you have to do things in this way, and it's like like oh no I don't want to be wasteful. I don't believe you're not allowed to have overhead, and then like it turns out that overhead is actually just your word for like things that they really need to do to be able to do their job, and like they basically try to like push things out to the edges, and like the people that are actually that are actually doing the work, right? And I think this is something that a lot of our efforts have done. I mean, you mentioned Crypto for Ukraine, and like when I talk to like some of those groups, like they really believe in that as well. It's I think it's common across the entire industry.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like using the crypto as the technology, like this, what we all did, like this couldn't have been possible, and that's why here we have a lot of people who speak with the regulators and decision makers in the country, and they can actually have an impact, and by telling those people that how impactful it could be as a technology, right? Like otherwise, as I was explaining in the video also, that it would have taken me at least 6 months to set up everything, at least 6 months to receive that money and send it to India and all that. Whereas with this technology, we could do it like much faster. So please advocate for the technology, I would say. Of course, government needs to put their guardrails and everything, but we should do that. And secondly, as Luigi was also saying here, that and I and Vitalik keep discussing this part also, that it needs to be less processes, at least from the funders level, like where we have to trust that, okay, we are giving it to this organization. Of course, we know like India, it's a huge country, and so many elements are there, and things can get blown up very fast. So we have to be extremely careful, but we also have to trust on the on the actors who are actually doing it on the ground, and and then let them do their stuff, because they are the best at it.
I think one of the ways to get the government to sort of look at the good side of the technology is definitely real world use cases. A lot of the people here sort of work with communities on the ground, may not have adopted the technology yet, but probably are sort of doing work on the ground where a lot of real world use cases that the technology might make available, it might actually sort of even transform or may also help them become more transparent. So what are some of the real world use cases that the both of you think, and maybe Sandeep, you can go first, that we can bring and show as evidence, whether it's in health or climate or anything?
I'm like currently the most promise crypto has shown is primarily in the financial domain. And, I feel that these real world, especially I'm talking in the context of crisis management and everything only, is that, these payment rails can be used very effectively. Like, although there is a lot of implementation problems, but combined with, let's say, our, Aadhaar identity system, or even like some of the more privacy oriented systems that, a lot of people in the crypto community are also working. We could have, done, let's say, in extremely affected areas, let's say Kashmir floods or Uttarakhand floods, somebody could actually give them actual relief. If you can't deliver them the goods, you can actually give them the relief, like, $50. $50 is a life-changing amount for, during these crisis situations, directly to, like, let's say 10,000 people there, right? Which could, move extremely fast with crypto only. I don't see like how you'd be able to do it with other technologies. Plus you also can galvanize global support in these environments, which is very, very hard for, like as Vitalik was saying, that, the bank payments and all that, everything takes 3-4 days and all that. If in such kind of crisis situations, you can actually mobilize the global support. Indian diaspora is also very big. Like imagine for any kind of such crisis in India, you can, bring in few $1 million for those crises using this technology. That's the most simplest use, but the most effective use. Like I would still like to only focus on financial rails of this technology to help on crisis.
Do you have any real-world use cases that you look forward to having?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely agree with Sandeep that in the short term, like finance is the most important, and I think there are very valuable things in identity, and I think especially if you start bringing in like zero knowledge proofs, there's a lot of like even e-government use cases for like, some of the privacy benefits, and like a lot of those things can work really well together. But I think like making payments work internationally work well has definitely kind of the base to start from, and then like once you have that, then like starting to look at some of the more powerful features that like being able to collectively manage amounts of money, and like whether it's some complicated DAO or just a simple like multi-sig wallet, the way that CryptoRelief had, right? Like these are also benefits of crypto that like traditional finance in many cases doesn't even offer, right? And then you start kind of going up and up the stack. And so I expect that we're going to see more of those benefits show themselves over time.
So one of the things I think, at least, that has caught a lot of attention in India is digital public goods, starting from Aadhaar, UPI, a lot of the different work that's happening. Do you see any work sort of happening on those lines?
Oh, huge. I mean, Vitalik recently also talked about this WorldCoin thing, which is, they are doing identity in a different way. We at Polygon are doing Polygon ID, which we feel that, can be even more powerful without taking the, the scans and all that. Yeah, I mean, these are some of the things like, which can be really powerful. Out of time, or we still have, because we got out of time 2 times, so I'm scared how long I should speak.
Do we still have time? We still have 5. Oh.
Okay, 5 more minutes, okay.
Do we have any questions in the audience? We could take a couple of questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandeep and Vitalik, for the very engaging conversation. Through the evening, both of you a couple of times mentioned that when you have a lot of resources and you have really strong problems to solve for, it's important to give the resources to make sure the problems are solved. And you're also talking about transparency. And due diligence is time consuming. Trust is very important. Want to understand, I'm from Give, and we've been partners with CryptoRelief and done large projects together. How do you ensure when there are large resources involved, there is also chances of things going wrong? Not to say you shouldn't trust, but how do you ensure trust and impact goes hand in hand so that the resources are put to right use? Transparency is one thing wherein you know how the funds are being utilized or where the funds are going, but how do you ensure impact? Because it's rebranded as blockchain for impact. So how do you ensure impact?
Sandeep, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So, I mean, none of these things are 0 and 1. Like, when we are saying that, okay, trust, we have to trust it, but it's not like we don't have to do any due diligence, right? But it can be much light touch. Like, for example, with UNICEF also, when we were doing, evaluating this project, and by the way, like, big shout out to to Naga and, Puneet and everyone, Dr. Gaurav, that, this is, people don't realize that 160 million syringes is like 16 crore this thing. And in the first round and we have a population of 150 crores, right? So we would have initially vaccinated 50, 60 crores in the first round, right? So every 1 out of 3 people got vaccinated because of the efforts of CryptoRelief and Vitalik's donation and things. So that's a huge stat. If it was not, I would say that if this was not crypto involvement, I think this would be a national story. But that's what it is. But I was saying that this trust and due diligence, we also CryptoRelief also does pretty extensive due diligence, but that still is much light touch than a lot of incumbent people would be doing. And that is when it becomes into kind of power games where multiple groups of different organizations want to have their say on everything. So that is something that we can avoid. But apart from that, I think as we said that we need to trust the people who are working on the ground and see the people who have the background, who have done this before, and then take a bet on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of other answers I have. I mean, one is that sometimes there are just high-risk situations where it's okay and it's even morally the right thing to take a risk, right? Like if there's a very big crisis happening right now and all you can do is flip a coin and one side of the coin money gets wasted, the other side of the coin 10 million people get vaccinated, you flip the coin anyway, right? And that's not that's definitely not the way that the entire world or even most of the world should work, right? But there's definitely situations that call for it, and that's I think okay to recognize them and act accordingly. And then the other thing that I've done in a lot of my philanthropy is to use existing networks, right? Basically don't approach it from the point of view of you're just kind of going out into the world abstractly, and anyone submits proposals, and you do your best to just read things, and that's it, right? It's even before I had any money, right? I was following a lot of people in a lot of spaces. You can tell who the smart people are. You can tell what the smart people recommend. You can tell who seems good but doesn't actually know what they're talking about, or you can tell who's just an opportunist, right? Because if the people that are just trying to scam your money, they're not going to go and build 5-year track records before they even know that the money exists, right? And so if you try to actually have those networks and relationships and kind of continue building them up kind of even in peacetime, that really improves your ability to kind of act both quickly and with the knowledge that you'll be effective when the time to do something important comes.
Yeah, I think Vitalik mentioned exactly I think the CryptoRelief approach. At the time of immense crisis, we were just willing to take bet on everyone. Anybody said that, I can bring in 100 concentrators, okay, you take this advance money, try to get it, right? And if it happens at that point in time, you just have to take a risk. But then when you are doing long-term things and all that, then you can probably take some time to
For us, it's just signal that he's added 5 more minutes. We'll take 2 more questions. I can see 2 hands up. Govind.
Hi, I'm Govind Agrawal from Anaxi Digital Runners. You mentioned, Naga, digital public goods, right? It's like, Aadhaar India Stack has completely changed India because of that. And I saw population scale projects, when you launched that movie. Sandeep, Vitalik is like, any specific country scale project, especially like digital public good you are planning under blockchain for impact, maybe in health, education, anything else for India scale?
Yeah, so I mean, with a lot of discussions and inspirations for because half of this fund Vitalik is using for the research efforts also outside, as you might have read from our public announcements. And generally the discussion has been that we need to go, if we want to have a long-term impact, the crisis time is over. Long-term impact will come with upstream efforts. And as a part of those upstream efforts, of course we have district full stack and other grant programs, they will keep on going. But one large part would be to do a big genealogy research effort in India, try to create the best possible or one of the best in the world genealogical institute in India, which can do a lot of research around prevention as well as detection and all those things. That one of the biggest problems for the Delta wave that we had was that we just could not detect that this virus had mutated and this is a new thing. This Delta variant is a new thing, and then by the time we knew, we were doing the lowest possible levels of sampling in India. So I think that genealogy institute or that genealogical network, I would say, is something we are going to do on a much on a national level. Of course, it cannot be called digital public goods, but that's the thing that from where we would try to have something like that. Can we have? Of course, there's a lot of privacy concern and all that, but can we have some sort of a genealogical databases of the country on which various different kind of research can be run, and preventive healthcare and increasing, as we were saying, increasing the health span, not lifespan of people and all that. Those kind of things will come out of that part. But directly as of now, I think the focus is on the upstream research.
I think there was one other question.
Yeah, hi. This is Manoj from Mission ICU. First of all, compliments. Whenever we have seen this kind of an impact made, in the lifetime, right? So it's absolutely brilliant to see this. And I just wanted to know that, when we are sitting on large resources, how do you look at the impact model, right? Because at the end of the day, when you spend the resources, you would like to see what is the kind of an impact you have created. So before investing, you look at, okay, what is the impact model, or, how you are going to measure it, or, what are your thoughts on that?
So, first let me take it. I know Vitalik's response. He's like, we trust you, how you want to make an impact, we push it on the edge. But Vitalik will, speak. But from my side, what we have done in India, because India is a very complicated environment, right? We have to see there are a lot of, as many great and good actors in this space we have in the non-profit side. We also have a large number of, in fact, majority number of bad actors in the space also. So, in lieu of having these two things together, while having some level of diligence, but also trusting the partners, in the past what we have also done is that impact framework that you are saying, instead of we dictating the impact framework, where we, you are working on something for the last 25 years, and we will tell you that, this should be the impact. That's not practical. So with many of the partners, what we have done is that we go with them and tell them that, okay, you help us develop what should be the impact of this. And, from a larger level, higher level judgment, those many volunteers we always had. So I feel in that, in India, in countries like India, we need to have something like that. While we want to trust the partners, but we need to have something like that where partners themselves who have expertise in that, they tell us that, okay, this could be the impact framework. Plus we have a lot of advisors and all that who can just oversee and say that, okay, review and say that, okay, this looks good. And we don't waste too much time on that and we go ahead and proceed with that.
Awesome. Vitalik, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, how should you design the impact framework? Like, how do you analyze the impact when you have a lot of resources and you're giving to the non-profit organization? How do you measure?
Right, I see. I think different approaches often work in different fields, right? Because there's a lot of the time impacts are easier to measure, right? And you can tell you donate this amount of money, you can buy this number of things, and we know that this thing has this % chance of stopping someone from getting a disease or something similar, and you can kind of tell what's what things are going to have larger impacts and what kinds of things are going to have smaller impacts. The place where that gets harder is fundamental research, right? Where people working on either new vaccines or potentially whole new categories of medicine, new kinds of treatments, even efforts at educating the public would be another example, right? Sometimes if you do those wrong, they even have negative impacts. So in those cases, I think it's there isn't as much of a formula that always works. I think in those cases, it's often a question of just looking at the idea, and does the idea seem sensible, and is the science sound? Looking at the team, and is the team the right team to do this kind of thing? And then if they are right, then then what does the upside look like, and how large the upside is, and then you kind of combine all of those different factors together, and then a lot of the time, when you don't really have enough visibility into some area, then you do pretty much have to give to people who then kind of make their own decisions and kind of fund a lot of things underneath them, right? And I've ended up doing a lot of that myself, obviously. So I think it depends on the situation.
No, definitely. I think with the work that the both of you have done, you've definitely put the onus of trust on the people actually working on the ground, and that's also a fresh perspective. We don't get to see more of that. We have run out of time, Kunal, so I know you're trying to get my attention. I don't. So Faraz is all right. So thank you to both of you. It's been a wonderful conversation. You guys have definitely started off something pretty big in the sector here with the whole initiative and the donation, and I think this is something that we'll keep looking back for a while to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You can give it to So we do hope you're going to find this thing interesting, and I think full marks to Dr. Gaurav for picking this gift as well.
It's a box.
Yeah. So we figured that there was a chess connection somewhere here. So these are. So this is a chess set with a very Indian sort of take motifs and yeah. So.
Good chess memories, because I saw Vitalik getting really badly beaten by Bote's sister on YouTube. So, but yeah, good for practice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Yep. Both is fine, yeah. Yeah, I've been asked to do a thank you note at the end. So, I'm thinking, what do I want to say? So, first of all, like the thanks goes to this crypto technology, actually, which actually made this possible. Thanks to Vitalik also, which kind of gave wings to this. Otherwise, this would have been as I said, that originally $5-10 million program, which became 400 plus million program and all that. So, as I said that, I would also request from all of you guys that, because you guys are in impactful positions to, help this technology become more mainstream by just educating the decision makers, lawmakers, that what are the positive sides of this technology. Like the whole world is talking about it. It's becoming mainstream in US, Japan. So many big countries are doing work on this because there is a lot of, I would not say there's a lot of potential. That's an understatement. That, okay, let me say this statement this way. That in 10 to 20 years, there is no way, absolutely no way that most of the countries are not running on blockchain rails. Like this is a given. This is going to happen. All our lack of knowledge and negligence, or, primarily lack of knowledge of our, let's say, government bodies and decision makers, lawmakers, can do is to delay this process for us. Which happened, let's say, for internet also. Everybody, we were probably 10 years late to internet. That's what, for me, I would feel really bad if India loses out or loses 10 years in this revolution also. So, every one of you, from our side or from your side, if you really want to thank, CryptoRelief, do help in spreading the good word about the good potential of this technology, which we can do. It's basically a global payment rail, nothing more. And on top of that, so many things can be built. So first part is that. Second part is that about CryptoRelief, it started as CryptoRelief. It was started as a relief effort. So wherever things were wrong, we had to fix them in a very fast manner, move really fast, do some fast stuff, break stuff, but then move fast. But then that relief times right now, especially related to crypto, is by and large over. And now the CryptoRelief is going into this journey, which is blockchain for impact, because now we are going to do long-term impact things. And of course, the grant programs and everything will still go on a pretty decent scale. We have district full stack, and other initiatives on that. But we also want to focus on long-term biomedical research and trying to do something which can make India a leader in biomedical research, right? And not only for-profit research, but non-profit research where new discoveries, new inventions come out of India. That's the goal. I want to basically create an institute or create this network or virtual institute, whatever it will be. We'll see how it pans out. But this should be something where the best and the best of the best minds of the world in biomedical research should be aspiring to come to. That's why, we are moving to the impact program. So that's the second thing I wanted to say. And the third thing was, before I say the third thing, first of all, I should say thank you to all the, public health workers and the NGOs, our own, volunteer teams. So many of you guys have provided so much of guidance, which we are basically kids running around, the chicken with no head kind of situation at that point in time. Many of you guys came out voluntarily, helped us to understand how this space works, helped us to understand how the system works and all that, and navigate that in such a short time. So we are really, really grateful and thankful. I am personally really grateful and thankful that, we could do it in a compliant way. So thanks a lot for that. And thanks to Vitalik also for making this this big. And the last thing I want to say is that, as I said in the video, I was reflecting, like for this entire thing, I was reflecting, and this is what I'm going to also use for my future journey, whether it's in philanthropy or whatever I'm going to do to help others, is, as I was saying, that I made that tweet as I was saying, it was, we have fight and flight response in life. And that tweet was basically a fight response after a long duration of flight response. Like we keep running away from the problem, and then when we have no other choice, then we choose the fight response. I think for India, we are currently the youngest, probably the youngest major nation in the world. And for us, it's our responsibility that we solve a lot of problems for India, for the generations to come. And that's why we need to press the panic button. We need to press the fight response before the crisis comes. And that's where we should all be working towards. That's what CryptoRelief and Blockchain for Impact is going to do that. Thank you, everyone.
To the end of the program today. The bar is open, there's dinner, so please, all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, Vitalik. If I can just request the the Blockchain for Impact team to come on stage with the both of you, Puneet. Volunteers, Dinesh.
No, let's invite Puneet also, our previous hero. He's here, yes. Puneet and Naga, I think both have been cornerstones of this alongside Dr. Gaurav, whom I have interacted with a lot. So.
Dr. Pooja, Ram. We don't have too many photos. So
Puneet has also decided that when his company is becoming bigger and bigger, he will donate a big part.
We now have a good photo for the website. Thank you so much, everybody.